Good morning, and welcome to the November 16th episode of Destination Maine on my mind. My name is LJ Bell. On Destination Maine, the show is all about celebrating the creative endeavors of Maine and her people, and we celebrate the writers, the artists, the musicians, the creators, the innovators, the folks who are making a difference with what they do, what they create, and how they share it with others. And this morning on today's show, we are doing some revisiting. This week, or last week, on November the 1st, Stanley Paris's boat, the Kiwi Spirit, was launched from Lyman Morris Boat Builders in Thomaston. And we talked with Stanley about his quest, his solo circumnavigation quest. He is challenging Dodge Morgan's record of solo circumnavigation around the world. And he's had, for the last year, they've been working on the boat. And that time has come for Stanley to sail down to Newport and start his year-long training period of time before he embarks on this attempt to break this solo circumnavigation record. Let me welcome Stanley Paris on Destination Maine.
Thank you very much, LJ.
Yes, thank you for being with me today. So tell me, what possessed you to want to sail around the world by yourself and have a boat built to do it in?
I've been a sailor for many years. I'm now 75. I started sailing at 12 in the Sea Cadets. I've sailed across the Atlantic a few times, as you mentioned, around the world. Several trips from Alaska down to New Zealand and back again. And I just love being out there. And in more recent years, I became fascinated with those people who did it solo and the advantages of it and the fun and the challenge. And then finally my son went round solo, the Around Alone, organised by Sir Robin Knox Johnson, now called de Velux. And while he had 5 stops, I got interested in reading all the books and the articles on the topic, and I became stimulated to think that I could do that. And so at this ripe age, I'm going to have a crack at it. The oldest being 58, I'll be 76 when I start out, but I'm in good health, and I'm having a fine boat built for it.
It sounds like it. The Kiwi Spirit.
The Kiwi Spirit, yes, because the boat that has the record is called the American Promise. And that's Dodge Morgan's boat.
Right.
He's from this part of the world. And I'm from New Zealand. Still got some trace of that accent, but I'm also an American. So I chose the Kiwi Spirit as the name of the boat to challenge the record of Dodge Morgan. And Dodge's record was 150 days, 6 hours and 1 minute. And I hope to do it in 120 days, take about 30 days off the record if I can.
And the difference between your boat, the Kiwi Spirit, and Dodge's, of the differences between the boat. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I thought that was interesting when I started putting it together, looking at the comparisons. The boat lengths are about the same. He was 60 feet, I'm 63. The widths are the same, around 15 feet. But the big difference is in the weight. Dodge Morgan's boat weighed 75,000 pounds. Mine weighs 32,000 pounds.
Wow, that's
less than
half. Whatever. Yes.
Right. So
yes.
I said last night that Dodge, the weight of his boat, I mean, he'll go straight through those waves. I have to go over them, so I have a longer trip than him.
You're going to do it in shorter time.
Well, it's a lighter boat, and light is fast. Light is fast. It's not as comfortable, perhaps, as a heavier boat, but it will be a faster boat, and I'll carry a much larger sail area. His mast was 65 feet, I think, high. Mine's 88 feet.
Oh, wow.
And then I have a 7-foot-long bowsprit that goes out, and that'll carry more sail because it makes me effectively 70 feet long.
Wow. Okay. What does your son think about this?
Oh, he's supportive.
Yeah?
And he's giving me advice, and he'll be doing some sailing with me on the boat. And there'll be a bunch of people that'll be helping me. At heart, I'm a cruiser.
Sure.
I'm not a racer. I've never seen myself as a particularly competitive person. I just like to take part in fun events. And sailing and cruising is like that. But I think this is something I want to do fast to try and break the record to honor Dodge Morgan. I think it'll be a really good challenge. And so on the crew that I'll have in various months over the next year, I'm in 6 regattas in this next 12-month period.
Okay.
And I'll have some very experienced sailors of note on board, and they will be training me to get faster and faster. So that when I leave on this trip, November 30th next year, to do the solo, non-stop, non-assisted circumnavigation, I should be peaking at about that time.
So you will have had basically a year of intense Olympics kind of training.
And somewhat, yes.
In these regattas.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that should keep you honed for when you're out there. Now some people have tried this and there's some perils that are involved with this, and some people have actually not come back. Is that right?
Oh, that's true. About a quarter of the people who try to sail around the world non-stop, only a quarter will make it. 3/4 will not be able to make it. Their boats will break down. They'll need to go to harbour. A name that many people might know is Sir Francis Chichester. He was trying to go around solo. He had one stop because of ill health. He stopped in Australia for about 70 days, and so that ruined it. But the first person to go around was Sir Robert Knox Johnson, and he did it, I think, in 270 days.
Wow.
Then it came down to 212 with Che Blythe, and now it's at 150 with Dodge Morgan. And I hope to take, as I said, to 120. And so the chance of the boat breaking down by hitting something, it can do that. Icebergs, containers are a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Even
when they fall off those container ships and they float just under the surface.
They wee bit showing, perhaps, but you can't see it. I mean, you're not looking out all the time.
Yeah.
At nighttime, you couldn't see, and radar won't pick it up.
Right.
You hit one of those, you stop dead in the water. And what that can do is it can break your mast and snap it. And so I carry an extra mast, a ready to jury rig in case. We're still working on the design of that. Icebergs are a bit of a problem also if I go too far south.
Yeah.
Bad weather can roll a boat, and that can snap the mast. It's happened to a lot of people.
There's all kinds of danger out there.
Yeah.
So how are you doing this with it's just you? It's a 60-something foot boat. Most people who have that big a boat would not dare to take it alone. But you're not only that, you're going to take it around the world. So how are you setting this up so that you can sail this easily?
It's not as difficult as it may sound, because a lot of cruising boat couples, just a couple on a cruising boat, one is sailing the boat while the other's sleeping.
Sure.
So that's solo sailing in a way. And if it gets rough, maybe they can call the other person up. But I find quite often that the friends I take sailing with me are kind of useless in rough weather. And so I'm on quite a few hours at a time, solo sailing in storm conditions with no help from anybody.
Okay.
So that doesn't sort of worry me at all. I know I can handle it.
Okay. And this is a totally green boat.
Yes, well, it's not going to start that way. And, of course, the building, unfortunately, is not totally green either.
Okay.
But once it's launched, it will have an engine in it, and it will have a generator. And because you need it to get in and out of the harbours and so on.
Sure.
But for the trip, beginning November 30th next year, the boat will come up here to Maine again, and it'll be stripped of everything inside that I don't need. So the extra toilets, known as heads, they'll come out. Everything will come out. Maybe the oven will come out. Everything that's not needed on the boat. And then I go down to St. Augustine, Florida, where the official start will be.
Okay.
And there in St. Augustine, the engine will come out. The generator will come out. I'll have no hydrocarbons on the boat at all. No propane, butane, nothing like that at all.
Wow.
It'll be all electrically driven.
Wow.
And the sources of that power is wind, solar, and hydro generators. These are little propellers I put down into the water that generate power back.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's new technology, some of it.
So technology is really allowing you to do this.
Technology allows me to lighten the boat, and with navigation being much more driven by technology now. When I first sailed to England in 1985, I had none of that. I got a little update from a sat nav every few hours, wasn't very accurate. But now you know that cost $6,000 back in 1980s, and today for $100 you can have a GPS and know where you are within 5 feet.
Yep.
We had nothing like that back then. So the technology makes it much more secure. Even radar has improved immensely in the last 2 or 3 years. It uses very little power and gets a much sharper picture. And another improvement for safety is a thing called AIS, Automatic Identification System. Every ship now carries it. And so on a little screen, I can see every ship. And this instrument will tell me whether I'm on a collision path with them or not.
Nice.
And if I have any doubts, I can move the cursor over to the ship. I can push a little button, and that'll ring a phone on the ship captain's watch, and I can speak to the ship and say, "Hey, I'm on that boat right in front of you. Could you please go left or right?"
Yeah, can you tell me which way you're headed?
Yeah, which way you're headed.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of safety too.
That's pretty cool. So, and there's something rigged where if you end up falling overboard.
Well, that's a
what's
problem.
That about?
That's what's happened occasionally.
Yeah,
Sailors have got washed overboard, and of course you should always have your harness on in terms of attached to a jack line, so you always remain attached to the boat. But sometimes you forget or are in a hurry and you don't do it, and you can get washed overboard. And I have a new device. I'll be looking forward to testing it. When I fall over, if I get more than, say, 50 to 70 feet from the boat, it will cause the autopilot on the boat to head the boat up into the wind. And now the boat will stall. Now, it will still move because, the winds will be moving the boat, even if it's not sailing. And then it will sail off and head up again, sail off and head up. But I've got a fighting chance to get back to it. That's all. But what I will be trailing behind the boat at a distance yet to be determined, but probably about 75 feet, will be a small float. And on a thin, light nylon line. And if I can get to that, then I'll be able to get myself back on the boat. So I'll do what I can to survive this. Should I be washed overboard?
Are you going to do some drills?
Oh, yes.
Overboard drills?
With people on the boat.
Well, yeah.
People I trust.
Well, of course. We're going to do an overboard drill, and we're not going to go get him. Yeah, no, I wouldn't think that, but that would make it easier if it's already in your muscle memory, and you don't
exactly.
You make it.
Yeah, you have to practice some of these things. I will do that. So
that just and so what gives you the physical stamina? How is it that you're in such good physical shape to be able to take this on?
Well, I'm a physical therapist professionally, and I practiced my learning and what I've learned in that most of my life. As you get older, certain muscle qualities will go. We all know as we get older, things are not as good as they were when we were young. Speed goes first, and then strength. But endurance is the last quality to lose in your muscles. And so if people in their 60s and 70s exercise every day, walk briskly, they can maintain a pretty good endurance capacity. They can still run marathons and do things like that. I recently did a half marathon, and I also did the Iron Butt. That's a motorcycle ride across America. If you do it in under 50 hours, you qualify. I've done it twice this year.
What did you call that?
It's called the Iron Butt. And if you rode a motorbike for 50 hours, you know what I mean by Iron Butt.
I can't even stand on one for an hour, much less 50 hours.
I wish I had an Iron Butt. It felt like jelly and was very tender. I spent a lot of time standing up on the pedals on the motorbike.
Hey, how do you train for that exactly? Yeah.
Well, I don't have a problem staying awake. I'm quite good at it.
Okay.
And in fact, I have a home in Florida and a home here in Maine. I'm at Edson, which is near Jonesport, a place called Cape Split, and it's exactly 1,500 miles between my two homes.
Oh, okay.
And I will do that 2 or 3 times a year. And usually I'll do it nonstop. And under 24 hours.
On a motorcycle?
In car.
In a car, okay.
I have 2 dogs.
Oh, right.
They go everywhere.
That's right.
My wife flies. My wife, Catherine, she gets to fly.
She's got a good deal.
I have to drive the dogs.
Okay.
In such bad weather, I'll be wearing a crash helmet.
Okay, good.
Like climbers wear. And I'll also be wearing a padded vest. And I may have netting down the center. And there's hand grips everywhere on the boat.
Okay.
And even when I'm sleeping, which will be just for a short period of time, I'll be sort of tied in, harnessed into my sleeping area.
Okay.
So I'll avoid getting thrown around.
So tell me, what are you going to do about food if you can't stop? You can't stop and buy groceries.
The rules are non-stop, non-assisted. So you can stop and just drift.
You can?
Oh,
okay.
yes, you could do that. And you could drop an anchor if you're anywhere near land.
Okay.
Are you allowed to do that? I won't be carrying much of an anchor. The big anchor on the front, that'll be taken off. I'll have a small little one for emergencies, stored deep in the boat. But if I need to do some repair, I'm allowed to anchor and do some repair.
Okay.
But non-assisted means that while you could give me advice, experts will. I've got telephone, several forms of communication on board. You couldn't give me a loaf of bread or a newspaper or anything like that. One person got a birthday cake once and was disqualified in a solo event. Not around the world, but a different event. That's the standard. Non-stop, non-assisted means that. So getting back to your food. Right now, I'm buying all these, from the camping stores. You can get Mountain House and Coleman and all sorts of different foods.
Sure.
And in the supermarket, you can get many varieties of macaroni and cheese. Yes, I know. Anyhow, but you've got to put up with that for about 3 months. It's not necessarily all of that. It's not necessarily healthy eating.
No, it's not.
But for 3 months, I can handle it.
Yeah.
And anything that doesn't consume a lot of energy or doesn't require too many eggs or things of that nature, because hot water into the packet or the box, and if that's edible, that's probably what I'll consume most of the time. But right now, I'm going to be experimenting soon with eggs, different ways of preserving fresh eggs, farm fresh eggs, not the ones you'd buy in a supermarket that have been chilled already.
Sure, yeah.
You can coat them with Vaseline, or you hang them in baskets, or you can leave them alone, and I'll be putting, different around and just see how long they last for. And of course, an egg is off when it floats in water. So if you put it in a pot and it floats, that's probably too late to
toss that one.
Yeah, I won't take any risks like that.
Yeah.
But onions and potatoes may last a little bit longer, again in baskets, hanging. And then I get down finally to the dehydrated stuff. Taking cans of meat is not practical. They're too heavy.
Yeah, I would think.
Yes, and I have to forego my 2 glasses of wine a night. That's
you can't dehydrate that, can
well,
you?
If any listener here knows how to dehydrate wine, I mean, I'll even give a prize for it.
Yeah.
If wine can come in a powdered form.
There you go.
And I can just mix fresh water with it, that would be great.
Kind of like Tang. Just add water.
I will be taking Tang. It'll make drinking more pleasant.
Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And so how much room for things like water
I'll have plenty
do you have?
I'll figure that out. Basically, I'll be putting 2 weeks food aside in containers, the sort of waterproof containers that kayak people use. So, and they're pretty strong, and they can withstand some friction. So I'll be putting food aside for tropical climes and food aside for southern climes.
Okay.
2,000 calories normally, but 3,000 when I'm down south and need more body energy.
Yeah.
And I'll have enough
it's colder.
Yes, I'll have enough for 120 days. And then my punishment is, after 120 days, I don't have any more such nice things that we're talking about. I only have the emergency rations, like they're bricks of dense calories that they put in life rafts. One should try that. It's not tasty, but it doesn't consume a lot of body fluid, and that's what it's meant for.
Oh, I see.
So it's not high in protein. It's high in fat and carbohydrate. And so you eat this stuff, and it just gives you some energy. And each little block is half the size of my fist. Has got 2,000 calories in it.
It sounds like something like suet.
Yes. It's a long time since I've had that, but I do remember now.
It doesn't sound appetizing.
No, I don't think I'm doing this as a gourmet trip.
No.
There is no way.
No, but you do have to eat enough to sustain your body, to give you the right energy. Right. And from being in physical therapy and teaching people how important nutrition is for the body to work well.
I'll be taking multivitamins. There's a question about whether multivitamins serve a good purpose or not. And you've probably read the literature and so on that. But given the kind of foods I'm eating, I'd be safe to have a multivitamin every day to back up.
Sure.
Just in case I'm short on something like fresh vitamin C and so on.
Right.
And one of the things I will be treating myself to is I'm going to have long life milk, a packet of that for each day.
Oh, nice.
So that goes in my coffee, it goes in my cereal, and it just goes for drinking.
There you go.
Yeah, that's going to add a bit of weight, but I think it's something I really want.
So you're training in a handful of regattas for the next year once the boat is launched. And when is the launch date of the boat?
Launch date's projected for September 17th. But we're having a delay on the not the finishing of the boat here at the yards at Lyman, Morse, and Thomaston. They're right on schedule. The problem is with the keel. This is a keel that goes from 8 feet and it goes hydraulically down to 14 feet. And must be able to come up and down. And it's got very critical measurements, and there's a little bit of a problem in the build of it.
This is not a luxury vessel, but you're also going to use it
Well, it
afterwards.
is a luxury vessel.
Oh, it is?
In phase one. We talk about 3 phases. We're building now for phase one. And it's pretty well luxury. It's got freezers, air conditioning, everything in it that would give rise to comfort.
Yeah.
Phase 2, everything comes out. The air conditioners come out. All the furniture comes out. The toilets. Now the boat will, and the engines, as I mentioned, now it will float 4 inches higher in the water. All right. And then when the event is over and I've come back, the boat will then go from Florida back up to here. And at that point, everything gets put back into the boat, and including for the first time, electrics on the winches. So that will then be a luxury cruise boat that I'll have for the years going forward.
Okay. All right. So what do you think the biggest challenge has been so far to getting this goal, this vision to manifest?
Well, it hasn't been terribly many challenges. I've had nothing but cooperation from everybody.
Good.
You work with the architect to begin with. And then that's Bruce Farr and Farr Yacht Design. I've had one of his boats before, and he's a well-known naval architect in the racing division of boats. And then with him, we selected the builder. We looked at build yards in New Zealand, which are known for quality boats at a good price. The labor costs are lower there than here. And we looked at yards in the United States and then narrowed it down and finally chose Lyman, Morse, and Thomaston. I was very impressed with the quality of the people they have there, the specialists in every area. It takes a lot of time to build a boat like this, a lot of man-hours.
Sure.
I think it's about 30,000 man-hours have gone into it. So if someone was going to build this boat themselves, it would take them 15 years to build this boat.
Wow.
At 40 hours a week. Yet no one person today has the necessary skills to build a boat. You could, 20 years ago, build a boat in your backyard and sail around the world. And you could do it today, but you can't do it fast.
Right.
And so it takes all these experts in their domains to come together, and Lyman Morse had those people. Although things like the keel and the mast and the sails, they're made outside.
Sure.
But putting the boat together and building the hull and the molds, that's all been done there, and they've done a great job.
The process is fun to watch.
There'll be no challenges. So the process has been fun to watch. I've had boats built before for me, but they had already built some of those boats. Like my last boat was a Farr 60-foot sailing boat. I purchased it in Sweden. I went over there 3 times to look at it only because they showed me the pictures of 5 others. And I just said, well, I like that, don't like this, and could you do this? Fine. I never needed to go back again. But this boat's been built from scratch. So everything from the door knockers or hinges or this or that, they asked my opinion of what I would like. So I have to make a lot of decisions.
Yeah, that's overwhelming.
It's a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I'll know the boat well before it's launched.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like you inside and out, from the doorknobs out. What color is the hull going to be?
It's in 2 colors. It's in red and blue, and and it's broken by a silver fern that goes across between the 2 colors. And then on the front, on the bow, there's going to be a fighting kiwi. A kiwi is a New Zealand national bird. And someone a few years ago created for the America's Cup, actually, created the kiwi in a sort of a forward-leaning posture, holding a spear. Well, kiwi hasn't got any arms. They put these little stubby things on him, and he's charging with a Maori spear. Maoris are the Polynesian natives of New Zealand.
Okay,
And the designers of that have given me permission to use it on the boat.
That's really cool.
So I'm really very, very happy with that.
That's very cool.
When I do the trip around the world, there's no stopping. I mean, I leave from St. Augustine. Dodge Morgan left, actually, from Portland, Maine.
Right.
He broke down south of Bermuda, went back to Bermuda, got his autopilots fixed, which was his trouble, and then went solo around the world and returned to Bermuda. So the record's to Bermuda.
Okay.
Previous record holders were from England, which is a wee bit further, you might know.
Sure.
I'm starting from St. Augustine because next year is St. Augustine's 450th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So they're making a big thing out of this.
Wow.
I'll start from there, then sail up to Bermuda go around Bermuda, cross Dodge Morgan's line, then begin the challenge on the record.
Okay.
Go around the world, go back, cross his line again in Bermuda, and see how I've done with his record of 150 days, and I'm supposed to do that in 120. But then non-stop, except I'll lower the sails for the media and talk to anybody. Then I'll sail again on St. Augustine, where the bench will end. I may not see land at all. There are people who've gone around the Horn and not seen it because it's covered in fog and mist and so on.
Wow.
But I will plan, if I'm ahead of the record, to go into the southern tip of New Zealand, because that's very near my hometown, and the local media will want me to get pictures and so on. And I will do that if I'm sufficiently ahead of the record. I'll lose about 3/4 of a day by doing it.
You will.
But if I'm 5 days ahead, more, I might do it.
Why not stop for a little media frenzy?
Yeah, but I'm only halfway.
Yeah.
Media frenzy. You're right.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, you're at Oboe and go, I got to get a picture, get out my shot, and all that stuff.
It's your business.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, that would be fun, actually, for them to be able to welcome you to your own homeland and close to your home. That would be neat.
Just a few miles.
Yeah.
It's Dunedin, New Zealand is a Scottish settlement. And I grew up there, and it does have sailing in the harbour. It's a long harbour. It's a shallow harbour. But it's given rise to a few sailors, one of which is probably the most famous in the world right now, is Russell Coutts of American Cup fame.
Oh, okay.
He was born in Dunedin and raised and learned to sail there, like myself.
I see.
So we've got quite a sailing interest in that community.
It sounds like it. Sounds like, the hometown's it's got something to be proud of.
Well, with Russell, they certainly have. I'll try and make him proud of me.
Well, I think you're already doing that. I think just having the gumption and the goal and seeing how all the little pieces come together, and following through with that goal. And you're not doing this with any sponsors.
No.
Right?
No, I'm doing it totally on my own financial basis. And I'm okay. I'm fortunate in that way. And I wouldn't decry anybody doing it and having to get sponsors.
Sure.
That's fine. But Dodge Morgan did it that way too, without any sponsors. So I just thought that would be the right thing to do if I could.
Yeah.
Now, I am not opposed to people giving funds, and I'll put their name on the boat, and I've already raised $150,000 for that. But that's going to physical therapy research in the Foundation for Physical Therapy, which is part of the American Physical Therapy Association. So that's arm's length, and I will do that, obviously. Okay. But myself personally, I'll take nothing for it. In fact, I put their names on for free.
That's very neat.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to be the most challenging part once you're out there?
They tell me the loneliness will be. Even the sailors who have daily radio contact, in the past they've used single sideband radio. Difficult to make those contacts. Dodge Morgan couldn't do it every day. But sailors in the recent years have had iridium satellite phones that work anywhere in the world, and they're almost as clear as your cell phone. But even then they still get depression and get very lonely and get introspective, and they get a bit strange at times, some of them. So I guess some of that might happen to me. I have no idea. Of course, I'll probably be talking to myself.
Well, that's fine.
People do that.
Yes, people do that, and as long as you don't answer yourself, but
well, I do.
You'll be out there too. So who's going to be there to listen?
Some of them had quite strong conversations, and they blamed their other alter ego that they're talking to for not getting up there and doing what they should, and they have arguments.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and one or two people have actually recorded the conversations, the solo sailor, and then later transcribed it. It's quite funny to read, except I just wonder if anyone was observing it live, they'd be scared.
Yeah.
So I hope none of that happens. I'll try and keep my sanity.
Okay. So are you going to have any sort of thing that's going to be recording your trip, or are you going to put a GoPro camera on your mast? Or
oh, yes.
How's this working?
The city of St. Augustine is trying to do something with the St. John's County school system.
Oh.
And I've signed an agreement of cooperation with the city to cooperate at the senior high school level. And we're talking with a photographer and people. We will do short 3-minute clips, 3 to 4 minute clips, and we'll make about 120 of them on everything from building the boat to how boats sail, and how you sail it physically, and then navigation, how I create power, how engines sort of work, and then why I'm getting rid of them, and how I create power from the solar and the wind, and cooking, all that sort of thing on board.
Mm-hmm.
And these could be available to be put up each day on the blog, but in the school system too.
Mm-hmm.
And we can structure questions around that and things the students can participate in.
Mm-hmm.
And then at sea, I'll have 3 cameras on the boat. One on the radar mast at the back, which will be facing forward, so it'll see me when I'm at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
One on the mast facing backwards. And another attached to my helmet or to anywhere I want to attach it around the boat if I want to interview myself live and send that. I do have the ability of uploading video from the boat live or editing a bit of it first and sending it off. But
nice.
hopefully I won't be doing the editing. I'll just send it all off and people will put it together and load it up when it's appropriate.
Sure.
If I see a whale or an iceberg or another ship or something of that nature, or in a real storm or a flat calm, it can be very frustrating, I can film all of that and send it.
That's going to be fun to keep up with.
Could be fun.
How can we keep up with that? Are you going to be doing that through your website?
The simplest thing is going to be a website.
Okay.
It's going to be www.stanleyparis, one word, STANLEYPARIS.com. I think it's .com or .org. I think it's .com.
.com.
Yeah. So that's not up yet, but that'll be on the boom of the boat, and that'll be probably up by October, November this year. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I'll probably contribute to it once a week, but once we get underway, it'll get more active.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully there'll be people responding.
Yes, and one of the things my son did, and when he did his solo around the world, and I'm proposing to do the same, is to have the school system get involved in essay writing competitions, something about the sea. And the winners of these essay competitions, which the schools will settle who the winners are, will get a ride on my boat around the harbour and out to sea and things like that. And then while I'm underway, I would be happy to take an email from a school, just one school each day, and answer that email. So schools can rotate as to which email they want to send to me from a student, and I'll answer that. What I don't want to happen is to spend an hour or two a day on media.
No.
But I want to be able to spend 20 minutes a day, and then if I'm really fully engaged, I want to not do it at all. I mean, if I'm bad weather and storm,
sure,
I don't be worried about making radio contact.
Right.
So it will not come to dominate. It'll be some fun for me to do. So now my son did that in Bermuda because he's a Bermudian, as well as a New Zealander.
My goodness.
He's now living in America, but he did that in Bermuda, and the Queen honoured him with a royal decoration. I went to Buckingham Palace to see him receive that, for engaging the school children of Bermuda in his enterprise of sailing around the world. Not for him doing it solo, so much as engaging the school children.
How about that?
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing I'd like to do.
It sounds like you raised a pretty cool kid.
Yeah, I'm following in his footsteps. It's kind of neat, when you can look up to your son. And say, he's done something I want to do.
Yeah.
He's about 45 years of age and doing extremely well.
That must give you an incredible feeling of pride.
Yeah, it does.
And because when they're here in arms, and you can't really imagine who they're going to become.
Right.
All you can do is hold that sweet little baby and just dream all the things that that are coming. But they grow into these amazing people. And it's so cool that your son did that. Not only did that, but he was able to inspire you.
Oh, just in case he's listening, I want you to know he's not perfect.
Oh, good. Well, I hope not.
I have 3 sons.
You have 3 sons.
They're very different, and I love them all. I think you love your children equally. You don't always like them equally.
Ooh.
And some things they do you don't like. But I'm very proud, and I like my kids as well. I love them.
Yeah, and that's good. That's a great. Not all of us can say that about our kids, and it's in this day and age especially because there's so many places where kids can go wrong, and it's just really cool.
None of them have gone off the rails.
That's good. So tell me, what does your wife think about this whole endeavor?
Catherine is kind of unique woman. She's very supportive, and we're very supportive of one another. She's run 13 marathons in the last 13 years.
Okay.
And she's planning her next one very soon. And I support her on that. She's also doing the Appalachian Trail.
Nice.
She's done about 2/3 of it, I think, 3/5 perhaps.
Okay.
And I drop off each day with one of our 2 dogs. And then I go to where she's going to end, and I then park our RV and I hike in with the other dog. So I get a little bit of hiking.
Okay.
But I'm supporting her in those kinds of ways. Now, she's supporting me and allowing me to do this. And, so the question she gets asked most often is, what are you going to do when he's away all this time? And she just looks like she doesn't understand that question, because she's totally able to take care of herself and has lots of things going on in her life. She's still an active professor at the university, and she has all these outdoor activities, and she'll be absolutely fine. But she also jokes that she's going to call on the dancing boys when I'm away.
Because you'll definitely be gone.
I won't be able to do anything about it.
What happens at home while you're out is, well,
on my way. She can be pretty sure I'll be behaving myself, though.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, there'll be cameras on you.
Mermaids are few and far between.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. And those silkies, you have to stay away from them. Yeah, they will pull you right in that water. Yeah, they sure will. Well, thank you so much for coming and being my guest today on the show. It has just been. It's so funny because I've been asking and just kind of, and here lately, I tend to just meditate and ask the question. And my question about the last 2 weeks has been, okay, how can I talk with Stanley Paris on Destination Maine? So I am just real thankful that we ran into each other.
Well, I'm pleased to have been here.
As we did.
I look forward to being here again sometime.
Yes, yes, and you're invited to come back anytime. Stanley Paris on Destination Maine is going to be solo sailing around the world and are building his vessel, the Kiwi Spirit. And it's just a real exciting thing to have happening here in this area. So we wish him all the best on his adventure. We've been listening to the interview with Stanley Paris on Destination Maine. On my mind, Stanley Paris is about to set sail from Lyman Morris Boat Builders on Knox Street in Thomaston. Aboard the Kiwi Spirit, he's got several other folks, crew members with him, 3 guys that are crewing along. And going to go down. They're sailing down to Newport, as a matter of fact. There'll be some festivities in Newport on Monday, some media stuff, all the hoopla. It's going to start because this is the beginning of Stanley Paris's year of training that he's going to be doing to prepare for this solo circumnavigation. I was so pleased to be able to go sailing with him for a last little test sail while we tested out the autopilot. And it was a beautiful day, lovely day to sail. It was really, really nice to be able to go out and just see how the boat works, see how things are going, and what all the little systems it takes to work. And, there's some kinks that they're working out. One of the things that Stanley decided was that he would install the motor for the winches to be electric for this year of training as opposed to after the event. And what he's discovered is that in hand cranking those winches, the problem is, you're so busy looking down when you're running that crank that it's really difficult to see where you're going at the same time. So Dr. Paris has decided that that's a safety issue, actually, and they, part of that sail the other day, all the guys were gathering around, the project manager, Lance Buchanan, and it was really cool to see them doing the math and figuring out, okay, this is what we can create, this is how we can do this. We can have an engine that connects all 3 of these winches into it, and just a really neat thing to be able to do, to go sailing, see how it's all working together. Again, they leave from Thomaston, from the dock, and that is going to be an exciting quest where he trains. He's going to be doing 6 regattas during the course of the next year, and it's just going to be a very exciting event. So really happy that, and also the other thing is that Stanley Paris's boat, the Kiwi Spirit, is Lyman Morris's 100th boat. How about that? That's pretty cool. You'll know who that is when you see that Fighting Kiwi on the front of the bow of the vessel. So, best of luck to Stanley Paris, and their website is working. It's stanleyparis.com. There's just basically a landing page and a blog page, and you can kind of catch up with him and see how he's doing on his adventure. And this is the start of his year of training for his solo circumnavigation around the world. It's very exciting. Well, Another hour, another show, wrapping up here on Destination Maine on My Mind, where we celebrate the writers, the artists, the creators, the innovators, the musicians, the folks who are doing stuff and creating stuff and sharing it with everybody. Our first hour, we listened to the interview with Stanley Paris. Stanley is setting sail from Thomaston to start his year-long adventure and training before he does his solo circumnavigation around the world. You can go to the Destination Maine radio show fan page on Facebook and click that like button, and that'll tell you when this show will be up online in case you missed any of it. See you next week.